United drawing against a miserable Wolves team, and looking the more miserable of the two sides at Old Trafford, was an unfortunately fitting end to 2025 for United. For Ruben Amorim, it was an extremely bad night for multiple reasons. I just want to be honest in this video, not to shout in your face or to explode, but to discuss why I think something might have switched for me in that Wolves game, and it's all down to choices. So it's the end of 2025. Manchester United have had, let's be honest, a pretty crap year. That performance against Wolves was abysmal. That's the only way you can describe it. But I want to do this video to try and summarize where I'm at with Ruben Amorim. What I saw against Wolves that I thought was sort of inexcusable and confused the hell out of me, if I'm being completely honest. And you can let me know what you think about Ruben Amorim right now. Maybe not right now, but where are you at? Because that Newcastle game, I thought was it felt like a big moment. We had a system shift, and it worked. Dorgu on that right wing, Premier League Player of the Week. We played with four at the back. He shifted the system, and it worked. And all the conversation and talking points about whether or not we're going to play with three at the back and Ruben Amorim's shifting and system, we'd seen a change, and it worked. Just how we saw some changes against Bournemouth that led to an improved performance, just like we saw changes against Villa that led to an improved performance. That's 3 in a row. And then we came into that game against Wolves. On paper, the easiest game that we have had this calendar year. Really, let's be honest. Now, I know that Wolves have nearly got a result against Liverpool, nearly got a result against Arsenal, but we dispatched them 4-1. I know that was with Ahmad, but you can give me an excuse all you want. This is a Wolves team that had 2 points in the Premier League coming into it. On paper, this was the easiest fixture that we had. But for some reason, Ruben Amorim switched. Now, from a player perspective, did any of the players do enough? No. None of the senior players did. Don't come at me having a go at Mantata or Jack Fletcher because they didn't do enough. The young lads. I'm going to be looking towards the senior players for not delivering. So the players didn't do enough, sure. But Ruben Amorim, I'm really confused as to why he changed. Now, Laurie Whitwell there speaking about taking off Xerxes. Gary Neville spoke about it as well. I don't know whether I would go as far as to say it was astounding. Like Xerxes, he got the deflected goal, but his overall game was poor, just like everybody else's was. Now, Ruben Amorim, this is what confused me the most. It felt like change for the sake of change. Switching back to a back five against Wolves when the back four worked against Newcastle. Now, we weren't perfect in that second half. In fact, I'll say we were poor overall in that second half against Newcastle. We dropped deeper. Mason Mount going off certainly made us less of a team going forward. But we dropped deep. We defended our box well, and we got the clean sheet, our first since Sunderland. Why then switch to a back five against Wolves? It's something that I think that gave them an advantage in the game, and it took away from United. And you've literally got the Premier League Player of the Week at right wing, and now he's playing left wing back again. It was just, I couldn't get my head around the logic behind that decision. That's what confused me. Up against this Wolves team, who had lost 12 games in a row coming to Old Trafford. And I think the reason for me why that draw, which felt like a defeat, had so much impact was I think it follows 2 other games of similar fashion. United against Everton, playing against 10 men for 73 minutes, whatever it was, 77 minutes. And we lost against Everton at Old Trafford. That was a shocking performance. The West Ham game. We couldn't break them down. We got the goal. Then we decided to sit back on that 1-0 lead and go, we've only got 1 clean sheet this season. Why are we... Okay, right, they've equalised. Who could possibly have seen that coming? And we dropped points against West Ham. Both of those at Old Trafford had an impact on fans. And that one there against Wolves, I think, adds to that misery pile. It feels to me like, I said it in the live show, there's 2 types of games I think had the most impact on fans. Number one, the games against your biggest rivals, Liverpool, that they're going to, the memories from those games are going to reverberate and they're going to have a bigger impact. And these sorts of games against teams at Old Trafford where you should be winning, you're expected to win. And I just think going into that match yesterday, I don't know why Ruben Amorim complicated it for himself. All the questions about changing systems and this and that. And we changed it. And we have changed it against Villa, against Newcastle, different systems. And it worked. And they really worked. But then against Wolves, it completely didn't work. You know, the mad thing is like when you look at United in the table, if we finish there, then this season, I would probably say is a success, given the expectations going into it. It was Omar Barada who himself said in that interview with Andy Mitten and United We Stand, before the season started, that 6 was the ambition of the club. Do I think that we've got a chance to get into the top 5 and get into the Champions League? Yes. Would I back us to take advantage of that? No, I wouldn't. Now, if you look at the next 8 games coming up, right, well, who have we got? Got Leeds away, not looking forward to that. Burnley, United should be winning. We'll find out what goes on there. Brighton in the FA Cup, no idea what to expect. City at home in the league, yeah, no idea what to expect. Then just a small case of Arsenal away. That's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. But when you look back at the games that we've just had in that 8-game period, it was probably the period where we all felt that United needed to take advantage. We dropped points against Everton. And look, we won away at Crystal Palace and we beat Newcastle at home, which were 2 of the 3 hardest fixtures that we had in that 8. Probably Villa away was the other hardest one. Then we've dropped points against West Ham. We've dropped points against Wolves. Bournemouth you can probably add into that because of the form that they had. A lot of United's frustrating games have come at Old Trafford this season, which I think is why it's having more of an impact, because it's in front of the home fans. And to do that against Wolves, like, you can talk to me about players missing. You can talk to me about the fact that Wolves were probably not the worst. I've seen worse teams in the Premier League. Like Wolves at Molineux was significantly worse than that Wolves team that was at Old Trafford and the Wolves team that nearly got a result against Liverpool and Arsenal. And there have been worse teams in the Prem, but I don't want to hear any of that. I don't really want to hear that Ruben Amorim was setting up in that game thinking about what Wolves were going to do. That's the wrong approach. It was just, the choices were wrong against Wolves. And I just found them really confusing because I think the hard thing was switching to a back 4. The hard thing was changing. And those changes actually worked. So to then revert against Wolves was just, it's almost like shooting yourself in the foot. I couldn't understand the choices when the game started, and now that the game's finished, I'm even more confused by it. And let's be honest, that's where I stand with it all. I'm just confused.